My name is Radiah Mallard. I am a Navy veteran. I only served for 2 years in the Navy, and then the remainder of my service, I served in the United States Army for a total of 21 years and 11 months, basically 22 years. I served 2 tours in Iraq, and I was an airborne soldier, so I had a pretty full career. The first deployment was pretty tumultuous. We had villagers coming in and out of our area. It took us 3 months to get HESCO barriers, but while the whole time we were taking in fire. Did not lose any soldiers, thank God. But we did have one attack where a rocket hit in my office, and thank God, again, it did not explode, but there was a lot of unexploded devices that were in my area, lots of alarms and things like that. So I learned to cope and then rolled right into my second deployment, not 9 or 10 months after that. I thought it was going to be easy, but on the 366th day, I realized I had 3 more months left there, and so that started to take a toll on me. Therapy for me, of course, being in a leadership role, it was frowned upon, but I did not care because I cared more about my children and being able to be there for them and having a decent life. It took for me to come back, and I'm driving one day, and I was like, I'm not going to take leave, I'm going to wait, because my kids weren't with me at the time. And I ran a stoplight, almost got hit by a truck, and realized at that point I needed some therapy, I needed some help, and I completely broke down then, and then that just began my journey of recovery while I was in the military from some, the trauma with deployment. This retreat was great. Getting connected to the ladies was great. We had a lot of laughs. We bonded. And what I love about the veterans retreats is that we're only 1% of the population. So no one gets a veteran like a veteran. So it's instant trust, not instant trust, but it's, it doesn't take long for bonding to happen, because you're actually in basic training, you end up bonding real quick. Like, we're all in this thing together. And so coming on the retreats, it's like you don't feel like an outsider. You don't feel like, I don't belong here. It doesn't take long to realize that, hey, we're here, we can help each other. And that's what I love about the military community. And that's, I realized, I need this community. I need the veteran community around me, and that's the safest place for me to be. And it's a place where we all get each other, we can all help each other, and we all understand each other. We have this very interesting dynamic because in the military, you learn coping mechanisms, and because you have to be able to perform in combat, but you're also a nurturer at the same time. So how do you balance all of that? You learn to compartmentalize in the military. How do you balance all of that? Depending on the experience, it can be rough as like the traumas and stuff, the militaries, that happens. And, there is bad leadership. While we were deployed, I had a soldier, and, she stayed in rear detachment, and it happened to her. And no one was there to help her. She was rear detachment. She kept it to herself. And when I came back and was hanging out with her, and she just mentioned it nonchalantly, and I'm like, that's not a nonchalant thing. But there's things that happen to women in the military that I'm not gonna say men are not privy to, because it's happened to men too. There's some dark sides to that, to the military experience. You can't talk about that stuff around men when you've had a bad experience with men and a trust issue with men in the military, and it's just not going to happen. And so I think it's really important to have not just women, but women who served, because that's even a different dynamic than the other 99% of women out there who, not saying they haven't been through anything, but it's just a different type of training. It's just a different type of thought process. Sometimes it's not solution oriented. We learn in the military to be solution oriented. And so, but at the same time, being solution oriented makes you want to fix things quickly, and you can't fix everything. Everything can't be fixed. It can be made better, but so I think it's important to have the women's retreat. The mask exercise, on the outside of the mask, you show how the world sees you, right? How you think the world sees you. On the inside of the mask is how you see yourself. And it was really eye-opening to them, and it was very eye-opening to me. You don't realize you're wearing a mask until you're actually putting this mask together. You're reflecting on you instead of like the outward perception. This is how, everyone sees me and how I want them to see me. But this is how I really feel on the inside. And noticing like, man, this is how I feel on the inside. And does that make sense? And no, it doesn't. So it actually triggers like self-reflection, and it makes you realize that there's some things that you do need to work on. When you do the inside of the mask, it shows you, and you on the inside, it's kind of scary. It's like, wow, and why do I think of myself that way? And why do I feel like that? Some things you can't see when you're painting the colors, and so you have to put another color so that you can see like what it is that you've written about you. And it's like a revelation, and it's like I think that's like triggers a path to healing, is the way I like to say it. Doing the mask, it triggers a path to healing, because now those demons, those things that you've been struggling with, now you're faced with them, and you're kind of like put in a position to where it's like, man, I need help. I need to work on this, So yeah, that's what that does. It gives an illustration, like when you have to go back home to family and all of the things that you've been feeling that you couldn't express. Now you have a visual, and you can say, and you realize the difference between the bright, funny, and a lot of us are funny, witty, we're upbeat. We want to make sure everybody else is okay. But the insides of our mask is like dark and broken and bloody and, confusing and all of that. And so it's a start where you can like show people that are close to you, like, this is why I have the outbursts that you don't understand. You see me this way, and I am this person, but this is what I'm struggling with on the inside that I wasn't able to talk to you about. So now I can talk to you about the things that I'm struggling with. So now the person that cares about you, that's with you every day, they can also become a part of that healing journey. This is actually my 4th retreat. So we've been on 2 marriage retreats, and then I went on a women's retreat. And so what I had shared with the ladies was, I did them, and my husband did the men's retreat. So we did the marriage retreat together, and then I did the women's retreat. But during that season was what I call a winter season. It was a season of a lot of things going on. And so the retreats actually were like right on time, where I had just received like huge hits and was trying to process things. And the retreats like were very timely, and the times that I've been, everybody that's been with me, they're like, it's just right on time, because I was, this was something I was just struggling with. And so I'm so glad that I came, because I was able to stop the world, almost like the world around me, the chaos around me, was able to stop that, and be able to like take a breath and realize that there's more to life than what I'm seeing right now. And also to be able to say, I've been through things before, and I made it through, and I can make it through this too.